Hello, fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN, the Hub's weekly waiver wire NFL show. We are Danless today, so I will be hosting today. I am Casey Scheinfeld. I am joined, as always, by Ross the Boss and, sorry, Ross, I'm not going to let you do your thing, special guest, former sports broadcaster with Turner Broadcasting and NBC, Jim Ginocchio.
How you doing, guys?
I don't think it's fair to just introduce you as that, because that kind of diminishes your cred as a fantasy sports expert as well. So we have to modify that. You're no longer just that. You are more fantasy guru and former sports broadcaster. So we'll go with that from now on.
And in actuality, I've been playing fantasy sports since like early 1980s. So
there you go. So you have more experience than most. Some of us weren't even alive then.
We did. Oh, that's really good to hear. Ross the Boss, did you hear that?
I heard it, but it is something. Back then, you didn't even have a computer. Like when you did your league,
the librarian,
everything was on paper.
The librarian,
so some guy with glasses, probably some scientist, had to figure out the stats.
They hand wrote all the stats, and that's how they kept track of it.
That's too much work. I would never. That's too much work.
Yeah, we even paid, I think, $5 a week.
No way.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We come here every Monday, 8:45 Eastern, 5:45 Pacific. This is Waiver Wire Week 11 going into NFL Week 12. Just to refresh everybody out there, we are looking at Yahoo's rankings to recommend players who are owned in 60% or less of Yahoo leagues. We're going to go position by position, starting with quarterbacks. So obviously we're a little later into the season. We're past the midway point. And the waiver wire is getting a little thin, so it can be hard to recommend some strong players. But, Jim, why don't you start us off? Who do you think are the top quarterback guys?
I'm so glad you said that, because being in Atlanta and Thanksgiving coming up and Falcons taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to take Matt Ryan. I think he's a good one this week because the Falcons haven't done anything for a long time, and I think he's due, and I think he'll do some good things against Jacksonville. I think people finally figured out how to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, as we saw this past weekend. So Matt Ryan, he's my number one pick. I think he's going to have a good week against Jacksonville.
Okay. Ross, who you got?
Seattle's defense, the doomsday defense, those days are way over, Casey Scheinfeld. That defense is a joke. So they're going all the way to the East Coast, playing the team of Washington, who looks unbelievable. Tyler Heinecke last week had 3 touchdowns. Yeah, 3 touchdowns. And before that, they beat Tampa Bay with Heinecke. This guy's running, he's throwing, he looks unbelievable. And this week, he's in Seattle. I might even start him over my usual starter, Dak Prescott. You never know what I'm going to do. I might start Heinecke over Dak. I don't know. But my number one pickup for quarterback this week is Tyler Heinecke. If you don't pick him up, you're a moron. Pick him up.
There's Ross's passionate plea. I don't believe him when he says he'd start him over Dak, but hey, Ross is pretty unpredictable, so you never know. I like Taylor Heinecke a lot. He's got good receivers. Is Logan Thomas back off the IR?
This is the funny about Logan. I have him on my tight end pickups. Again, he was injury reserved, but he is practicing supposedly this week. So all you fantasy gurus, make sure he's practicing this week on the field. If he is, he's going to play. So just pay attention, please. I say it every week. He's coming back. He never comes back. But this week, they said he's practicing. So if he practices, he'll play.
All right. I like both of those choices. Those were my top 2 as well. Somebody who I'm going to mention who's a free agent in actually one of our leagues and is 52% owned is Cam Newton. The guy is showing that he can run still. He's going against Miami. I don't think they're the strongest or most stout of defenses that you have to worry about. So Cam Newton's another one I consider. Carson Wentz laid an egg last week against Buffalo, but it's hard to say he laid an egg. It was just the Jonathan Taylor show. Did you guys see that?
He was unconscious, Jonathan Taylor. But then again, that's exactly the type of athlete he is. He's one of these guys that can easily win MVP in the league because he's just an incredible athlete. He knows how to run through defensive lines. He knows how to follow his blockers. He's got patience when he first gets the ball. I mean, the guy is just incredible. And I think everybody just found out what a lot of us already knew about Jonathan Taylor this weekend. The guy's amazing. 4 rushing touchdowns, one receiving.
I mean, obviously I had him as a top 5 running back to start the season. some people argue with me. One of them is not here today. I won't mention his name.
I wonder who that is.
And he's a doctor too. So that all being said, I said Jonathan Taylor, top 5. Little argument from the guy that's not here, but we'll talk about that next week. Jonathan Taylor right now is the number 1 running back because Henry's hurt. He is playing out of his mind. If you had him last week, I know somebody that had him and the running back for the Chargers,
Austin
Eckler, and they still lost, which is unbelievable.
Wow,
they had them both.
They had them both, and they lost in my league. It was unbelievable.
He must have had nobody else.
I don't know. I don't know how you do that. It's impossible, but he did. So, long story short, Jonathan Taylor, unbelievable. Next year, he could be a number 1 pick next year in fantasy football. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly has catapulted himself to the top, I believe, of the MVP conversation for this season, with Josh Allen obviously scuffling. Lamar Jackson was hurt this week. So there's, I mean, Derrick Henry's out for the season, so I don't know who else you guys would consider for that MVP conversation.
Well,
I think he's the guy, especially if the Colts catapult to the top. If they get to the playoffs and do well, I think he's the guy.
So
I think Jim, you're right. You always have to throw Aaron Rodgers in the mix. I mean, I know he's like not the most well-liked player right now, but I know they lost this week. But I mean, 4 touchdowns. The guy's unbelievable. He just carves defense up. I mean, you can never not say Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers, Jonathan Taylor, it's going to be close. We'll see what happens. Another quarterback I like, he was 27 out of 33 versus the Jets, is Tua. And I feel every week he just gets better and better and better. If you need a second string quarterback, and again, Miami's schedule is really weak, it's not a bad guy to start. I'm just throwing it out there.
He's going against Carolina next week, and
Carolina's defense isn't that great.
What Taylor Heinecke just did to him.
And the Dolphins have won 3 straight. They're hot guys.
They're hot, and somebody I know just came back from Miami, and he's a little tan, I can tell.
So, Jim, you got any other quarterbacks you want to mention?
Well, I was going to say Wentz only because, if Taylor's not going to keep up that pace, and what that does is that'll open up some throwing possibilities for Wentz next week, because everybody's going to be keying on Taylor. So I would say Wentz for maybe a couple of touchdown passes, but that's pretty much it. So Wentz is the only other guy.
I mean, Casey, there's one more. I mean, just because he plays in such an offensive-minded coach's playbook, and it's Trevor Simeon, and he had 3 touchdowns last week. He's, again, New Orleans' schedule is just looking at it. It's not that hard. They play some easy teams coming up. So, again, if the matchup's right, I wouldn't mind starting the guy. I mean, again, Dak Prescott laid a huge egg against Kansas City.
He did.
I'm looking at different options right now. I have Dak in one of my leagues. I'm looking at different options than Dak right now. I'm not sold on this guy.
Yeah, so he's without Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, so that's obviously makes it scary.
CeeDee Lamb's concussion protocol. Who knows if he's playing? We'll see.
I think if you're dealing with a quarterback issue, somebody you could look at, as much as we're not huge fans, is Ben Roethlisberger. He's putting up decent numbers. He's going against the Bengals, Ross's Bengals next week, so it could be a shootout. He's got some pretty good wide receivers there. He likes to dump it to Najee Harris out of the backfield. There's a lot of potential for counting stats for him, even if I don't think the Steelers are a very good play against the Bengals next week.
And Claypool's back, so having Claypool as his weapon, you're right. I mean, he's a whole. And as we'll talk about in tight ends, Freiermuth that may have developed into the top pickup week in and week out because he's still under 60% owned for some week. And he had a touchdown on Sunday.
Got another touchdown.
And just think, guys, this all started with Uncle Ben buying him an ice cream. I mean, that's it. That's how it all started.
Yeah. Buy a guy an ice cream, he becomes a winner. That's all you have to do.
That's it. They got that friendship going.
All right. So before we talk about running backs, I want to mention our sponsor, Kill Cliff CBD, the best tasting CBD drinks in the world. You've got flavors like Orange Kush, Mango Tango, Strawberry Days, the grapest of all time, and Joe Rogan's Spicy Pineapple, called the Flaming Joe. This is a product founded by a Navy SEAL for those of us who aren't Navy SEALs to enjoy and experience the benefits from. It's a no-brainer as far as the history of drinks go. So go to killcliff.com, to get yours today. There's also a new drink.
I actually, really quick, I actually got a case of Kilgriff. They sent me like variety pack, and I've been trying like all the flavors. And in all seriousness, it's really good. I'm not saying that because they're a sponsor. I'm just saying it because it's a great drink, and they have different varieties like CBDs in one. They have one that's not so like crazy, so you get too caffeine. If you don't want too much caffeine, they have something like that has protein. It's a great variety of different flavors, and it's very impressive. It's good. Buy it.
You heard it from Ross first. All right, let's move on to running backs. Ross, why don't you go first? Who's your top running back this week?
I'm going to take, I never thought I would ever say this out of my mouth. It's going to be a New York Jet because Carter is down. He's hurt. He's not playing next week. He's that running back that's the rookie sensation the Jets have been starting. I'm taking Tevin Coleman. I think he's going to get the majority of the handoffs. I feel that I don't think it's going to be Ty Johnson. Tevin Coleman's got the majority of the work, and I feel he'll get 20 rushes. And the running game for the Jets isn't that bad. And if you need a running back that's going to get the ball a lot, Tevin Coleman's your man.
Well, I think it's funny I think it's funny you mentioned that, and don't take Ty Johnson because the guy I have on my list as a Jets fan is Ty Johnson.
Yeah, I have him too. I was just going to say that. I agree with you, Jim.
Time for another bet. Time to see who's right. Ross the boss or the gang of two.
Threat. So I like him too. The guy I'm looking at is still Ramondre Stevenson. He's still only 50% owned. I know he didn't have the greatest game on Thursday.
Casey, he had 12 rushes and 69 yards. It's not bad.
No, but like the week before, he had 102 touchdowns.
Well, that's because Harrison.
But I think nobody has big back-to-back weeks on a running back situation in the Patriots.
Right, and he did 12 for 69 with Damian Harris back. So I think he's a solid part of that rotation. I think running back, when looking over the waiver wire, was honestly the thinnest position to try to find somebody who would really contribute from fantasy purposes. So he, in my opinion, is the top guy.
Yes.
Jim, who else do you have? Anybody?
No, I agree. I had Stevenson as well because I actually picked him up last week in my league, and
nicely done.
So it was a good pick. I had a running back that had a bye week, and Stevenson filled in well, picked up about 7.5 points. But hey, listen, I think I think Stevenson's a great pickup for everybody.
Yeah. So
and some news that came out today, Carson, the running back for Seattle, he's out for the year. So no more Carson. Your boy Penny, the San Diego State alumnus, he got hurt like in the first quarter. I mean, this guy is made out of paper mache. I don't know. He's out every year or every month. He's out. I don't know what's going on.
I'm not watching the Giants game. Did Saquon
the guy that is going to take some snaps and get some handoffs that look good, very good last week is DJ Dallas. He had a touchdown. He had 25 yards and 4 carries. I think he could. I mean, when Pete Carroll sees somebody and likes somebody, he'll use them and use them and use them. I don't know if Collins is going to keep that job. I think it's going to be DJ Dallas. You heard it from me first because I'm Ross the boss.
Ross, that is an awesome nugget. I like that one a lot. I might try to get him in our league.
No, I'm going to get him.
We'll see. I think my waiver position's higher than yours, so we'll see. Any other running backs, guys?
I mean, Dontrell Hilliard of the Tennessee Titans, he got the majority of the handoffs. It wasn't who he thought it was going to be. He had a pretty good game. He had 8 catches, 47 yards. He had 35 yards with 7 carries. Could be if you need to pick up somebody, if it's a PPR league, it could be a good guy to pick up. I'm not like going crazy about it. But again, McNichols is not playing that much, and Hilliard is. And Latavius Murray, he'll be back. They'll be splitting handoffs with Freeman. So, again, I don't love these picks. If you're really desperate, I'm just mentioning some names that you can pick up and you can start, and maybe you'll get lucky and get a touchdown.
Well, and, we always throw it in every single week. Alexander Madison. Oh, let's throw his name in there again too. While
Cook was so good last week. I would just cut Madison right now.
I think it is time to cut Madison.
Cook can trip over the grass and get hurt for 3 weeks.
So
it's hard to cut Madison. And for those of you who've been following us, a few weeks ago, we recommended Daryl Williams of the Kansas City Chiefs. If you watched the game last night, you saw that CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, was back and was getting a majority of the carries. assuming he stays healthy, I would say Daryl Williams is probably an easy cut or release on your roster too. So,
and Stacey, let's go back. You just mentioned that, and that's a good example of somebody that was activated on Saturday. And you being a good fantasy owner, you have to see those trends and see what's going on. When a player's activated on Saturday, like Hilaire, you got to know not to start Williams and start somebody else, or hopefully you have Hilaire.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
hopefully you started them, because those are the trends that happens on Saturday night. That's when they decide like who's really going to be activated and playing, including Sunday morning. But you got to be awake. You got to know what's going on. You just can't turn off the TV and turn off communication on the weekend. You got to be a fantasy manager like Ross the Boss. If you're not, you're losing out. And you got to watch our show too. I forgot to mention that.
okay, I'm a Giants fan, so I just got to point this out.
Yep.
Interception.
Yes,
Tom Brady, interception in his own red zone.
Yes,
Greatest
take
of all
that,
time.
Tom Brady.
Can't beat
That
the
is
Giants.
Not good.
Take that,
beat
take
the
that,
Giants.
Jim Ginocchio.
Ouch.
Okay. All right, let's move on to wide receivers. I'm going to go first because
Yes.
it allows me to gloat a little bit. A few weeks ago, I recommended Elijah Moore, much to the chagrin of some of the other hosts on the show, pointing out that a Jets receiver is never a good fantasy own. In the last 4 weeks, he is the 21st ranked player in fantasy football, and he's still only 58% owned. In the last 5 games, he has 350 yards receiving with 4 touchdowns, 38 yards rushing with an additional touchdown. He's done it with 3 different quarterbacks throwing in the ball. I think he's proven that he's the real deal. In my opinion, he's turning into the Justin Jefferson of this season. If everybody remembers last year, Justin Jefferson in like week 10 decided to explode and become almost a top 10 wide receiver the remainder of the season and explode up everybody's draft boards this year. I think Elijah Moore is showing that he has the same kind of potential. I would say he's probably the top pickup if he's available right now.
Top pickup. Wow. Okay.
That's pretty high.
So big words for a team like the Jets. I don't know about the top pickup choice, but I will hand it to you. That was a good little nugget you found, and he is playing well. But again, he plays for a very bad offensive team. If you want to pick him up, go ahead.
Easy on the Jets.
Daniel Jones touchdown. Sorry, had to say it.
Yes. Take that, Jim Ginocchio.
Holy
Let's
cow.
talk more about receivers. A guy with a great game.
And by the way, speaking of receivers, he didn't even throw it to a regular
No,
receiver.
he threw it to his left tackle.
He threw it to his left tackle.
I had him in Super
championed
Draft
Andrew
Pro.
Thomas.
If you're not playing Super Draft Pro, make sure you sign up. Contact me. I'll let you know how it works. I actually had that tackle. I didn't have him. I was kidding. I don't know what it is.
He's gotten like 48-1.
Yeah, his multiply. Yeah,
It
exactly.
was like
His multiplier
2,000 to
48
one. So Darnell Mooney, listen to these stats. This
I
is
like Darnell
unbelievable.
Mooney a lot.
16 targets yesterday. 16.
Yeah.
He had 100. He had over 100 yards. He had a touchdown. He was unbelievable. I mean, 121 yards. He had a touchdown.
Yeah.
Darnell Mooney for the Bears. They're playing Detroit this week on Thursday. I know Casey will be watching. I know it's a tradition that he always watches the Lions play. So Casey Scheinfeld will be sitting on the couch in his downstairs basement watching the Detroit Lions win their
I would
first
be
game.
sitting
No,
on
I'm
my
just kidding. I don't think they'll
mother-in-law's
win.
couch, I think.
But
watching it.
I mean,
That's
again,
not even-
I think Casey and I will be the only guys watching that game. No one
With a
else
Rudy-
cares
Yeah, I
about
think
the
so,
Bears
too.
and Lions. But Darnell Mooney, he's becoming a pretty good receiver, and Andy Dalton was the quarterback, which is saying a lot. So for me, if I was going to pick up a receiver this week to start, Mooney would be the guy just so I can watch him on Thursday. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
And
huh?
can I interject before Jimmy?
Yes,
named the
of
receivers?
course.
Did you guys watch the end of that Bears Ravens game? As a Bears, I'm not a Bears fan, but that had to be one of the most like disheartening like losses ever. That was terrible.
And did you see what happened in that game too? Between quarters, the ref threw a flag because one of the players on the Lions, or was it the Bears? No, not the Lions. One of the players in the Bears said something about somebody's mother, and the ref threw the flag on that.
No, I didn't.
I never
see
heard of that in my life.
I never heard that. That's crazy.
No, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
There were some crazy endings.
Again, Darnell Mooney, Jim Ginocchio. What receiver do you like?
All right, you go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
Deontay Harris of the Saints. They're playing Buffalo on Thursday, and I just think he's going to have a hot game. I think that he's going to be a high multiplier, and I'm going to roll the dice on him.
I like it. Anybody else?
Yeah, I like Nick Westbrook. He plays for the Tennessee Titans with AJ Brown hurt, with Jones out for the year.
Yep.
This guy's stepping it up. Westbrook's going to be a big target, I believe, for Tannehill. So I think that's a good pickup. Van Jefferson Jr. I got to say Jr. because God forbid you can mix him up with the senior. Van Jefferson Jr. we were talking about last week, but again, the Rams love this kid. With Woods out, I think he'll be used more. I think we'll see it more coming up in the next couple of weeks. The Rams have a pretty good schedule, especially teams that have a bad pass defense. Van Jefferson I like a lot. And somebody that I was trying to get on the cover, but you beat me to it, Casey Scheinfeld, Marquez Valdes-Scanlan, 123 yards, 10 targets. He was unbelievable last week. Again, I think he's the number 2 receiver right now for Green Bay. And Rodgers has something to prove, and it could be a good pickup for your team right now.
Oh, yeah. I look, any receiver with talent that Aaron Rodgers has thrown you the football has a chance to be a fantasy gold mine. So I'm not arguing that Mooney and Moore and Scantling are all at the top of that list. I like Elijah Moore only because I feel
you're in love with him, obviously, and obviously you have a poster on your ceiling that you look at every night before you go to bed. We know that's true, Casey Scheinfeld. You can't deny it. I have a question for you, Casey Scheinfeld. Real quick, you're wearing that Giants jersey. Sterling Shepard, yes, no, maybe. Do you think it's a good pickup?
He's still out, is he not?
He's out, but he's coming back, I think, next week.
I like him in a PPR league because he's the security blanket for Daniel Jones. He catches a lot of those 6-yard slants and outs, and whenever he needs a possession receiver, he looks to him. I don't think Sterling Shepard's ever going to be the guy who gives you those wow numbers of yardages and touchdowns, but if he can get you 8 receptions for 70 yards, that's 15 points in a PPR league. If he happens to find the end zone, it's a huge day. So I like him. I don't think he's long for the Giants after this. I think Kadarius Toney is the one they're eyeing for his job in the future because he's that kind of human joystick type of moves. And
that's why I asked you.
It's really exciting. But I like Sterling Shepard. He's been a pretty reliable receiver when he's healthy. The problem with the Giants, I don't know if it's their strength and conditioning team or what, but nobody can stay healthy on that team. You got Galladay hurt. You had Shepard hurt. You had Slayton hurt. You had Barkley hurt. You had Andrew Thomas hurt. Evan Ingram is always likely to go down.
The offensive line is hurt. I mean, you guys have been scrambling for an offensive line tonight.
So,
it doesn't stop.
Availability is, probably the most important ability for these players, and the Giants don't have a track record of availability. So I tend to stay away from them. I don't think Saquon Barkley's ever a first-round pick because of his health. Not because of his talent, but they have a terrible offensive line, and he gets hurt for at least 4 weeks every year. It's my same argument against Christian McCaffrey. If you're going to miss 5 to 6 games, I don't care how good you are in those other 10 games. If I can't trust that you're going to be there at the end of the season when the playoffs are going on, I don't want you on my roster. So,
got it.
Is there any more? And before we get into tight ends, is there any more disappointing team from a fantasy perspective this year than the Tennessee Titans right now?
Oh no.
Henry was like
awesome for 10 weeks or 9 weeks, whatever it was. And that was,
Henry was the god for a long time and he went down.
Does it matter to have him in the first 9 weeks or the last 9 weeks?
AJ Brown was like a second-round pick in most fantasy leagues. I mean, he's been a huge disappointment. Jones, I kind of knew. I even said in our show that, age is catching up. I don't think he's the same player he was 5 years ago. And, I mean, Tennessee overall, just a horrendous fantasy team. Tannehill's not that good either.
Ross the Boss,
4 weeks ago, they looked like the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, they had the best record, and then what happens when the team has the best record? They lose. They lost to. It's probably the biggest upset this season is the Texans going into Tennessee and beating the Titans, which is unbelievable. I mean, think about it. I mean, the Texans probably have one of the worst teams in the league, and the Titans were in first place, the best team in the AFC, and they lost at home.
Yeah, the Titans are one of the best in the AFC, and they've lost to the Jets and the Texans. Hello? I mean, Tannehill is just – he's just not the guy.
No, I never liked Tannehill. I was very boisterous about it last year.
Yeah.
And ever since I saw him on that HBO show a few years ago and how he treats, like, the second string players, I never liked the guy. Horrible.
He's just not one of those quarterbacks who is going to win. There are quarterbacks who make receivers better, and there are quarterbacks who need really good receivers to look effective. I think when Ryan Tannehill had a healthy AJ and a healthy Julio and a healthy Derrick Henry, he can look really good. There are only so many Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady's who can make every receiver look good and competent. I mean, you give Tom Brady good receivers, look what he's doing in Tampa Bay. You give him Randy Moss, and what did he do that one year? It was like 50 plus touchdowns thrown. So I'm not a huge Tannehill guy either. But
a quick Tannehill story. I just tell everybody, this is what kind of got me off the bandwagon for him. During practice, the practice players from the practice squad go against him in during the week. And if a practice squad player like intercepts him or makes a good play, he goes crazy. I mean, he gets mad. He wants the player to come off, and they want to put somebody else in there. Tom Brady, when that happens to him, he actually gives the guy a gift or praises him and says great things about him when he picks a play off during practice. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference between a winner and a loser. So there you go.
Yeah, I appreciate it. All right, tight ends.
Yes,
Jim.
I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Uzoma has not had a big week in 5 weeks? It's got to be, right, Ross? I mean, the last time he had a big kind of player. Last time he had a
2-touchdown week about 4 or 5 weeks ago. You're 100%
Yeah, it was the
right,
game you went to, I think, in Cincinnati.
He had a good game, but I think he had a couple games after he had a good game also.
Yeah, so I think he's due. I think that Joe Burrow might be able to find him this week, and I think Uzoma might be the pick this week. I mean,
I like it against Pittsburgh. I like that. I like that pick.
Exactly, nice. Pittsburgh, and I think it's a good pick. I think we should.
I love that.
Yep,
Ross.
I mean, we mentioned his name at the beginning of the show. He had he has touchdowns like every week. Is Pat Freiermuth. This guy, I know he only had 11 yards, but if your tight end can get a touchdown and 11 yards every game, I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And another one we talked about too is Logan Thomas. He's on the IL. They say he's practicing, and if he practices this week, I think they'll use him during the game. I promise you guys that. Logan Thomas, I like a lot, especially with that Washington offense. I think they'll throw him the ball, and I think he'll have a great game in his first game back. We'll see what happens.
I think those are both great picks. Obviously, tight end, as he who shall not be named and decided not to show up tonight, talks about it as being a dearth of point availability. But I think Freiermuth, as was stated, is one of the top pickups this week. I'll mention Tyler Conklin. We've talked about him a couple times in Minnesota. He is a target for Kirk Cousin there. They're going against San Francisco, which is a tough matchup for him. But again, it's somebody that a quarterback trusts and throws to. He doesn't have a competition for targets at the tight end position. Mm-hmm. So if you're in need of somebody, that would certainly be a way to go. The other one is Dan Arnold in Jacksonville. Again, just because the hair trusts him and likes him. Ross is jealous.
He had 0 yards last week.
Did he? Yeah, but it's Jacksonville. So again,
it's Jacksonville.
the
week before that, he had 60 yards. So don't think that Casey's out of his mind. It was Lawrence's favorite target till last week, but Lawrence had a horrible game last week anyway. But I think you're right. I like Arnold a lot. He was actually It was a trade they got mid-season to pick him up, which is a very strange thing when you get players mid-season. But it was a trade, and Jacksonville picked him up, and they're using him like crazy.
Yeah, and so hopefully that works out. All right, let's move on to defenses.
Defense.
It's interesting. I have a feeling we're all going to recommend both defenses from the same game, but go for it. Why don't you go first, Ross?
Bears, Detroit. Casey Scheinfeld's going to be sitting in his couch, 12:30 afternoon game. He'll be watching the Bears defense. Even with that Khalil Mack, doesn't matter. They'll be just destroying Detroit's second string quarterback. I don't think their quarterback is back. Their first string guy.
I don't think Goff is supposed to be
I don't think Goff is back. And I know, Detroit's just a bad team. So I like Chicago. And then, of course, I'm a Bengal fan against Pittsburgh, and I'll take the Bengals defense against a mediocre Pittsburgh team.
I agree with the Bears. I mean, the Bears are just going to kill them. I mean, it's Thanksgiving. They're going to be eating the big.
There's always a mystique about the Lions during Thanksgiving. There's always
they just can't.
There's always like some mystique. There's always something going on, and don't you think it's a storybook thing? Like they get their first win on Thanksgiving, Casey. Don't you think that could happen, Casey Scheinfeld? Don't you think that could happen?
I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I'll be eating a turkey leg, cheering for the Lions.
You'll be like King Arthur eating the turkey leg, cheering on your Lions. You'll be sitting there. It'd be unbelievable.
I'll pretend I'm at a Renaissance fair where you get those turkey legs that are like the
with
size
the bacon
of
wrapped
arm.
around it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So I think that the Giants are having a lucky game tonight against Tampa Bay.
How dare you?
I think they're going to falter next week against Philadelphia. I'm taking the Philadelphia defense. How
dare you? Casey and I are big Giants fans.
Is that crazy or what?
You don't know what you're talking about.
It's crazy to think the Giants could turn the ball over and play poorly in a division game. What's their division record right now? I think
right.
I don't know if they have a division win. But
you guys are so negative on the Giants.
Look, if you can roll the dice, I think it's a coin flip. Which team you want from the Houston Jets game? You could take either defense and probably be pretty successful if you're desperate to take somebody. So I would probably lean towards the Jets because even though Houston beat Tennessee last week, it wasn't because they looked awesome offensively. And the Jets, they could do it. I don't know. There's again,
who in their right mind is going to be watching that game? I mean,
I was just going to say it's going to be.
That's why you take their.
Honey, what are you doing today?
But why aren't you?
I can't wait. I'm watching the Jets Texan game. It's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be
You're not going to watch it because it's going to be such an ugly offensive show. So that means both defenses are probably.
Plus, there's going to be more people on the field than in the stands. I mean,
I'd rather get my teeth pulled out than watch that game. Okay,
absolutely. Guys? I mean,
you don't have to audit it and watch that game.
You don't have to watch it to benefit from their awfulness in fantasy.
So
CBS, I heard, is getting $500 per 30-second commercial.
I heard it's 600. Keep going.
Oh goodness. Okay. Any other defenses?
No, I mean everything else is over 60%. But just if you're, hopefully you can get the Bears defense or Cincinnati or the Texans or the Jets. Hopefully.
Look, before we talk about kickers, I want to mention our website, www.mfsn.tv. Every Wednesday, we release our rankings for the week. It includes who we think is going to do the best at each position. We break it down position by position. We compare our picks to the Yahoo rankings so that you know where we think people are going to be. If you're looking for a decision to be made about who to start, go to www.mfsn.tv and we'll help you out there. As always with these videos, subscribe to our channel. We like to provide as much good content as we can. Like the videos, comment in the videos. We love to answer your questions. The questions are always a joy to us. Tell us what we did wrong. We don't care. As you can tell, we like to make fun of each other. We're fine with being made fun of by you. So if you disagree with our picks, if you disagree with Ross's pick, you're wrong. If you disagree with our picks, you might be right.
You disagree with me, you're probably living in a different world.
Right. I just don't think that ever works.
It's not a smart thing.
But the rest of us, with humility, might take a more closer look at what we're doing. So let's move on to kickers. Top kicker this week, Jim.
I say, I tell you, with the Vikings offense, the way it's really cooking right now, I think Greg Joseph is going to be getting a lot of opportunities against San Francisco. I think he's one of the best ones available right now on the Yahoo Sports fantasy. In fact, I'm thinking about picking him up this weekend. That's how much I believe in him right now. So I think Joseph's the guy this week.
All right, Ross. Anybody?
I like Sanders. They're playing Carolina. Miami's offense is moving pretty well with Tua, and I think Sanders is going to get a lot of field goal attempts, and they trust him over 50, so he might get some 50-yarders also. So Frank Sanders is my number one kicker this week, and he's under 60%, so pick him up.
Yep. Again, you got Greg the Leg in Dallas going against Las Vegas, I believe, this week, isn't he? That's always the potential for a lot of field goals. I don't know. It's going to be the Zeke and Dalton Schultz show, maybe Michael Gallup. So there might be a lot
watch out for Zeke.
There.
His health isn't that great. I'm curious to see if he practices this week. So just keep
Zerline. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that. If he's going, I think he's a safe play. And Michael Badgley for Indianapolis, he's proven to be a pretty good replacement for Rodrigo Blankenship. They're going against Tampa Bay. That could be a shootout. These are all
good ones. I mean, in all seriousness, guys, kickers, it's a crapshoot. I mean, really, is. I mean, you're just throwing a name out there, and hopefully they have a good game. I mean,
I'll tell you one other is Young Hoku, because if the Falcons are going to move the ball against Jacksonville, there's going to be a lot of times where they don't make it to the end zone. So
I don't have any faith in Atlanta. I don't
either.
Atlanta got shut out last week, 25-0 at home. Casey Scheinfeld and I are not taking an Atlanta Falcon the rest of the season. I can tell you that right now.
Well, if you notice, I took the kicker. I didn't take anybody else.
I don't care.
You did say Matt Ryan. You took the quarterback.
Matt Ryan's horrible. The whole Atlanta team's horrible. Might as well trade the whole whole team and get a box of donuts. It's a horrible situation in Atlanta right
and to
now.
think we were hoping to get invited to do our next tape.
They lost
live
at home
Man,
25-0 to
Atlanta.
You know, that's it. We're going to go find the owner of Lowe's and fire Arthur Blank. That's it. You know,
there you go. We're going for
I
it.
like Arthur's. I like that guy.
All right, guys. Well, there you go. We've given you some good names. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Ross, for your help and your advice.
Thanks.
Obviously, it makes all of us better fantasy football players. I hope the viewers out there learned a little bit of something today. Obviously, listen to Ross. He's the best. That's why he's the boss. The rest of us try to provide some sage advice once in a while, and eventually we get something right. But again, tune in every week, 8:45 Eastern, 5:45 Pacific on Monday evenings for the NFL Waiver Wire Show. This week is Thanksgiving. Enjoy a Thursday full of football and a weekend full of some more football. We hope you all have a great holiday, and we will see you next week.
Hey everyone, Castmaster here, overload of knowledge and part-time customer service rep for KillCliff. Wanted to announce my new KillCliff Octane CBD flavor, Killer Cliff Sickle. Yeah, that's right, it's orange and vanilla gummies. Woo! I know your drink hole is gonna be happy because I know everything. Just go to killcliff.com and get yours today.